KONP News brought to you by RE/MAX Evergreen Real Estate. Outstanding agents, outstanding results, 457-6600. Incumbents had a good night in last night's local election results. In the first vote count released, Marco Zayas easily winning re-election to the Clallam County Commission. Incumbent Port of Port Angeles Commissioner Connie Beauvais appears to have won re-election. Voters satisfied with the direction of the current city council in Port Angeles, with Amy Miller, Navarra Carr, and Brendan Meyer all winning their races. In Sequim, former Mayor William Armacost defeated soundly by City Council member Kathy Downer, who gave up her re-election bid for her current seat and filed a run against Armacost. Dan Butler is also winning, as is Harmony Rutter.
Here's your Newsradio KONP forecast. Slight chance for scattered showers this afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. Highs around 52, northerly winds around 5 miles per hour. Slight chance for scattered rain showers again tonight. Lows dip down to about 40, overcast. Scattered rain showers likely tomorrow. Highs level off around 50, overcast skies. I'm weatherology meteorologist Paul Trombley. Currently, it's 52 degrees.
It's the Todd Ortloff Show on Newsradio KONP. Now, here's Todd.
All right, welcome once again to the program. Going to spend the first half of the show today talking with Port Angeles Mayor Kate Dexter. It's good to have Kate back. Good to have you in the studio again. Thanks for stopping by.
Always good to be here.
We've got lots of things to cover. We've got a very big meeting happening tonight, which people might say on Wednesday. Well, that's because we had an election last night, and
That's
you guys
correct.
always bump it to the Wednesday when there's an election.
Yes, we didn't used to do that, but we, after one meeting, or in advance of an election night, we thought, well, if there are council races on the ballot
Right.
and other important things, we're all going to be wanting to pay attention to that. So let's not try to do both. So let's just, when election night and the first Tuesday are the same day, we meet on the Wednesday after.
There you go. All right. So we'll get to that. But first, about elections, because it is kind of interesting. Of course, everything's still, for a couple of the races, still we'll call them undecided because
Sure.
there's some more counts to be hit. But there is one race that was uncontested, and it's kind of a unique because it's a fill-in. Explain
Right.
what's going to happen with Drew Schwab, basically.
Sure. So Drew Schwab did run unopposed for the seat that Amy Miller was appointed to when Mike French moved to county commissioner. So in the state of Washington, when someone is appointed, they have to run in the soonest election, regardless of when that position is up for election. If there is a ballot on which there will be members of that body, so a city council election triggers, that person has to run for election. So that seat is up for election. Amy filled that seat, chose to run for the seat that Charlie McCon was vacating. So Drew ran unopposed for that seat, which is technically a 2-year seat because that seat is up for re-election in 2 years. But because he was elected, he will be sworn in as soon as the election is certified. Mm-hmm. So we expect him to serve likely in December.
So it literally will have a seat on the council in the December meeting, perhaps. Is
Yes.
that what it sounds like?
Right.
Yeah.
Depending on the timeline. So he'll be sworn in and be an acting city council member once the election is certified. And then if all stays the same based on current numbers, then Amy would be sworn in. Whoever else is elected, we can just go that route. Everyone else who is elected in this election will be sworn in January.
Right.
So
because those technically are on the regular schedule of election
correct.
for those seats.
And they're replacing people who were elected. So the elected people, and if nothing changes, there won't be any replacements. But
right. With that said, regardless, you have a whole shift in council folks. Even though you've got people have been reelected
Right.
or elected onto the council, what does that mean for the council moving into January? You select a new mayor, you get all of that to happen
Right. So,
soon after that.
Right. Every time there is a November election with city council members, in that the following January, we do reappointment of mayor and deputy mayor. And then also one thing that we do that is, of course, of great interest to council members, not necessarily to general public, but also to board and commission members, as we reassign or we do assignments for boards and commissions.
Right.
So all of the extra stuff that sometimes people forget that we do. So it matters to all of those organizations that we serve with and on who will be, so everyone gets a chance to list their preferences, and then the mayor and the city manager sit down with the clerk and work out, try to give people their first choices.
All right. So, see, all these election things still have implications for those who
Yes,
are left on the
that's
board
right.
without standing for election right now. There
Correct.
you go. So we'll wait and see. There was a little bit of confusion as to, because you were going to look into this, because there's actually two certifications that happen. There's the county certifies the election, then
Right.
the state Secretary of State's office certifies as well.
Yes.
It usually happens pretty close to each other, I think, unless there's
Yeah, it
some
looks
really
like,
crazy things going on. But
The Clallam County has said they will certify at 2 p.m. on November 28th. Mm-hmm. And then Secretary of State is a little looser, final results by December 7th.
right.
So,
And if I recall, I think that you will they have these certifications that happen through that week. They kind of go, kind of like county by county
Sure.
as they go.
That makes
So
sense.
anyway, very good. Well, now we're up to speed on that. I think it's very interesting because people may not have understood how that extra seat that was up there,
Right.
that Drew actually ran unopposed on,
Correct.
why it was there. Now
yes,
you know.
that's right.
Okay.
So he'll be sworn in sooner than the rest of them, and that's why.
Got it. All right, let's talk about tonight's meeting because
Sure.
you've got lots going on. There's going to be, and I chatted a little bit with last week with Nathan West
Yes.
about some of this, but it's always good to get your take on it. One of the things, you're getting a big presentation on wildland fire prevention, and this, I know that the fire chief has put together. In fact, this is like adjunct to the meeting. It's
Sure, this is a
it's a rather
special
lengthy
meeting at 5 o'clock.
presentation, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about what you're expecting to get from that, and then as a city council, what does this mean for you to hear this presentation?
Sure. So my recollection is that this presentation request came from council following the deadly fires in Lahaina, Maui. So recognizing that,
Which coincidentally, this is the 3-month mark, or there's something
Oh,
like that
okay.
as well, and it's also the 5-year almost to the date of the Paradise Fire in California. So some of this is kind of like eerie timing,
Right,
if,
okay, well,
if
maybe
you will.
we
I don't
should
think it was
do that at the
planned.
next meeting, but,
But anyway, just thought I'd point that
yeah,
out.
interesting. So I think there was just a request from council to hear from the fire department, what does our preparedness look like for that kind of event? We hear, we spend a lot of time in the Pacific Northwest, in Clallam County in particular, talking about Cascadia earthquake and earthquake preparedness. And sometimes I think we miss the forest for the trees occasionally because we're so focused on that one issue, which is big and catastrophic. There are other things that could be big and catastrophic, like a fire. And so I think council just wanted to hear sort of where do we stand on our preparedness for that, and what are the potential scenarios. I think the thing that people were concerned about is thinking about, some of which we can't do anything about in terms of infrastructure. It is a scenario where having only one way in and out could be problematic, right? So what are the what's the potential for how we handle that? And we did hear from constituents after what happened in Lahaina saying, hey, what are you guys planning to do? And I also asked, just thinking about what role as an elected official do we have in that? Because we don't really have, when an emergency operations center stands up, which is what would happen in an emergency like that, like with the power outage, we don't really have a role in that. But that doesn't mean people aren't going to be looking to us for answers, for information. And I noted, it seemed anyway, and I wasn't there on the ground, but it looked like there was a lot of frustration from locals in the Lahaina area, with a lack of response from elected officials. And so I think this will be a useful presentation, and then I'm hoping to spend some time talking to maybe AWC about whether there are already resources or other things that we should be aware of to make sure that we, A, know our role, and B, stay in our lane so we're not getting in the way, that sort of thing. So I think this is a good start of sort of thinking about that broader discussion, and certainly I'm curious to hear what we're going to hear from Daryl. So it will be recorded if people can't join the WebEx but are interested. We record our meetings, and so they should be able to go onto our website and find it in a week or so.
It's kind of interesting because I think both Paradise and also in Lahaina, they didn't think about a wildfire racing through their community like that. I mean, that was
Right.
just kind of maybe furthest thing from their mind. It was something you may have thought
Right.
about, but
Well,
when
and
it
I think-
happened, it was like, oh my gosh, that just happened.
Right. And it was quick, and there
Yeah.
wasn't a response, there wasn't an alert, and I think there was a lot of criticism for that.
Yeah.
But then the more you see about how it played out, was there time? I don't know. It doesn't seem like maybe. That seems like maybe there wasn't. I'm certainly not an expert on all of that, but I think we want to be thoughtful anyway about the potential for things, and I think also it was a good reminder for us that even though we're in a place that it sort of that discussion happened at the same time that we're talking about water restrictions and how dry it's been, and we've got a countywide burn ban, and so this idea that was this green place, and so a significant fire isn't necessarily a risk. I think we're all living in the reality now that we recognize that in fact it is, and many of us remember. I don't remember what year it was, but I distinctly remember a day driving back from Sequim at the end of a summer one time, probably on a Costco run, and you came around a corner. It looked like Port Angeles was on fire because the smoke was so thick and the sun was just right. So it was this glowing orange. And so I think, well, it's a good time to hear.
You know, like I said, that it's tragic what happened in Lahaina, but you know what? Even a wildfire that affects a portion of our area, that's tragic in itself. It may not have, swept through it. So be prepared for anything like that that could happen. And I know there's a lot of talk about the wildland urban interface areas and things like that. And I think that's also part of what this presentation you're going to get is about, and just how we prepare for those places. Because you know what? We're built right on the edge of the forest, basically.
Right.
Here.
And we don't have
Why
a lot
we
of
like
room
it
to
here.
go to the north.
Right.
So
Yeah. So, okay. After that's all done, you're going to dive into probably one of the bigger things that we've talked about lately, and that's this user fee, permitting fee structure thing as well. This will be a continuation of public hearing on that. Am I correct or not?
We did the 2 public hearings. This is just council
That's
discussion.
right. Because last time you decided as a council you'd put it off. You could have made the decision at the last meeting, but decided to take some more time to mull it over a bit.
Yes.
So where are things from? Maybe I got to ask this 2 ways. Kate Dexter, you as an elected council member, how are you feeling about this proposal, and where do you tend to lean on how this might go down in your vote, at least? And then you can maybe talk about how the council is going to do this.
So we've heard from quite a few people concerns about how quick it is and that sort of thing. But I also feel like one of the things that we got from staff that was really useful from my perspective was a comparison of fees if you were building it was like a $215,000 home. So the best case, the best option for trying to compare apples to apples. So it was Port Angeles, Clallam County, Sequim, Jefferson County, and Port Townsend. And what would the total cost be? And of course, fees are lower in the counties, but we looked at the fact that you would have to, whereas in the cities, you have to tie into sewer. There's some fees associated with that. In the counties, you would have to put in a septic system. And what are those costs? And so when we look at it that way, we're still less expensive than everywhere else. So even if we take the initial recommendation of the just implement the fee increase at once. And as a reminder, from a dollar value, I think people are still concerned, and that's fine. We had a consultant do a cost of service analysis, and the staff recommendation was actually 75% of the cost of service, not 100% of the cost of service. So it is a little bit less, and there will still be then some subsidy from the general fund, but I think it gets us closer to where we should be, and that's important. I think there are some guardrails built in that are useful, and council did take action at the last meeting to include the fee waiver indefinitely with a review at regular intervals. I voted no on that. I think we should be doing it more regularly and not necessarily from a budget perspective. Is it I'm not sure I think it's a great idea to put it in there forever, but a future council could make that change. As a quick side note, one of the goals of this code rewrite is to build ourselves a code that we can be more nimble with. So as things aren't working, it's easier to tweak a little bit, and one little tweak doesn't then impact, now we've actually touched 5 other sections of code. And so reducing the tentacles, putting things in one place. So I think that is a good thing that we're moving toward, and this will be another area where we've adjusted that to be more nimble. That said, I think we've also requested some consideration for home renovation permits for low-income folks, that they would get a discounted rate off the new fee, so that we're allowing people to stay in their homes and make the renovations needed to keep their home livable. We talk about that a lot when we talk about housing stock and all of that. So I think we've put in some balances to offset for folks. So at this point, I will probably support if someone makes a motion to adopt the full fee and not do the phase in, because it also gets us closer to all of the other things that those fees support.
Part of this, and I get what has been the biggest concern you've heard from people who've talked to you about this? Is it just the huge jump for what is single family housing? As far as the building permit part of this, where are you hearing the most pushback when this was put out? Because there's some pretty astronomical numbers when people first looked at it.
Right. So I think the two things that we heard the most, and no one has reached out to me specifically individually, but the two things that we heard were, the increase in the percentage increase in some of these. Right. And then also, interestingly, I feel like sort of this concern that our staff was walking fast enough, right? Really this, which I understand, you want people to be efficient if we're charging an hourly rate. So also built in is some review points by staff to make sure that we are being efficient. And so I appreciate that they heard that and built that in. And so I think those are the two things. I don't know that I feel like the examples we got made me really concerned that if you were building a $300,000 house and the increase, one example we got was a $250,000 home, I believe, with, and I may be misrepresenting this slightly, I don't have it written down in front of me, but the fees went up by about $7,000. So I kind of feel...
That's total, right? That's not just the building permit.
Right, it was the fees that... Yeah. So all else being equal, if we adopt the fee structure as it is and it applies to that home, it would be an additional $7,000. I don't want to say $7,000 an inconsequential amount of money. It certainly can be, but I also feel like it's a pretty small amount on such a big project. And so if it helps us get to all of the other things that we will be able to do because of this, which is built into that, as I mentioned earlier, the fee waivers for multifamily housing. And that's not, I think there was some misunderstanding early on that was just for multifamily housing that was built for people at 80% AMI or lower. It's for all multifamily housing. Yeah. So if you're building luxury condos,
you'd be eligible
you would be eligible because it's multifamily, because we need more housing. And so I think I do think our focus should be on multifamily. And I think, I hope that people will still build single family homes, and that we'll get more of everything. And again, it's a decision we're making now. And my goal as a council is to be more nimble. So if we see, hey, this didn't work out the way we thought it would, let's discuss making it different.
First blush, do you think this will incentivize enough people to get out and do multi-family? Because that's been an issue. I mean, I talked with Nathan about this last week. I said, traditionally, Port Angeles builds single-family houses. That's how we all grew up around here, and I think breaking that mold is a tough one.
Yes, I think that's true, though I think we're seeing the income, I can't say the word I'm looking for right now, but we want people to, I remember when I ran last time, one of the things my opponent said was, well, if you can't afford to live in Port Angeles, then maybe you shouldn't. And I think, well, I would rather work to find a way to allow people who want to live and work here and maybe work in service jobs or, just generally aren't making a lot of money can still stay here. Young people who are graduating and, my son graduated, we've talked about that before. My son graduated from high school and kind of looked around and thought, well, I kind of want to do this for a living, but I certainly can't afford to live here if that's what I do. And so how can we build a community that works for everybody, people who want to live in single family homes and can afford to, and people who are just getting started or are working as a server? They shouldn't, we don't live in a place where they can easily live somewhere else and commute to work either. Yeah. So I hope that this will do what we hope it will do. We did have a public comment, and during one of the public hearings, I don't recall who it was, but a developer who came and said, your policies encouraged me to come here and build multifamily housing. So it just got better for him if this passes. Sure,
yeah. And certainly, I mean, you've been doing some other things as well, yes. Even beyond this. One other question, just your thought about this, and that is in the messaging. I don't think, I didn't realize how much things were being subsidized, quote unquote, if you will, out of the general fund because of the the lack of paying for things through the permit fee structure. I mean, that's a lot of money, and I don't know if and I think when the public actually started to hear those numbers, they went, oh, wait a minute, maybe maybe we do want to be able to pay for police and fire.
Yes,
or at least have the money to pay for it.
It's a limited pot, and so I think this is from a fiscal perspective a reasonable decision. The other thing that I think is also important to note is built into the ordinance is also direction to review it on a very regular basis. So that because I think that's the real issue here is we let it go for a long time, and there are some good reasons for that and some not so great reasons, and we want to make sure that what decision we're making tonight that part of what we decide tonight prevents this from happening in the future.
Yeah. It's like if I was said, it's kind of like going to the store, it's bad business if you're not raising your prices just a little bit at a time over time, because it's really bad business when you go and you tell your customer, oh, by the way, it's going up twice 100%, for example, in some case, simply because you didn't keep up with it. All right. That's going to be a discussion. I'm sure the council, all of you will probably have a few things to say before that gets voted on tonight. One last note, Veterans Day. I know you wanted to chat a little bit about that before you get out of here. Let's talk about a reminder that it's coming up.
It is coming up. So we have a proclamation this evening, which is a regular thing we do for Veterans Day. And just, from a use perspective, City Hall and the transfer stations will be closed on Friday. That is the legal, it's not the official holiday, but from a work day perspective, it's the day we are closed. But the transfer stations will be, Regional and Blue Mountain will be open on Saturday, since they're taking the holiday on the Friday. So
they'll technically actually be open on what would be Veterans Day specific.
From 9 to 5. And I think you all may have published something. I think press release went out a couple of days ago, but just a reminder because it's back and different this year. The Coast Guard is hosting again their Veterans Day ceremony, and their Facebook page has information, at least. And I don't know if you guys have published
10
anything or
o'clock
not,
it starts. I think they're opening the gates at 9 or 9:30, something like that. Bring ID. You got to have ID to get in. And that's the main thing. But it'll be nice to have that event back.
Yes, and I will be going to Canada to Victoria for Remembrance Day. They do a wreath ceremony, and we always buy a wreath to show our support. And this year I'll be there to lay the wreath during that ceremony.
All right. So representing nice. Port Angeles with our neighbors to the north. All right.
Right.
Kate, always great to talk to you. And we'll do it again in a few more weeks. All right.
All right. Sounds
good. All right. Kate Dexter, she's the Port Angeles mayor. We'll take a break. Be back with more in just a moment.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on Newsradio KONP.
At Olympic Peninsula Title, old-fashioned customer service never goes out of style. We've been closing real estate transactions in Clallam County for 40 years and have earned the repeat business of our customers. We treat people with respect, do what we say, put the security of our customers' funds and information as priority number one, and always provide service with a smile. When it's time to choose a title company to close your transaction, opt for Olympic Peninsula Title. See why we've been voted best title company in Clallam County over and over again.
Hi, this is Kyle Lemaire with the Wanda Fuqua Foundation for the Arts. Are you ready to experience the heart and soul of Americana music like never before? Enter the Black Feathers.
A miracle before. Been looking at the inside of this open door, but I've seen
The Black Feathers, a husband and wife team of passionate musicians dedicated to the roots of American music. With their soulful vocals, masterful instruments, and a blend of folk, blues, and country, the Black Feathers will transport you into the heart of authentic Americana.
now the ghosts of Eden well.
Join the Wanda Fuqua Foundation for the Arts this Friday, November 10th at the Mood Room in downtown Port Angeles for an unforgettable performance. Get your tickets now at jffa.org. That's jffa.org. Be a part of the incredible musical journey that is the Black Feathers.
This Saturday, November 11th, is the 8th annual Novemberfest in downtown Port Angeles. Participating stores will offer specials, refreshments, and a drawing to win a share of gift cards from over 35 businesses. We'll see you downtown this Saturday for Novemberfest. Don't miss it.
Red Carpet Car Wash in Carlsberg is always adding to the list of things they provide to keep your vehicle looking brand new. The full detail shop is just one more service to check off that list. Not only will your interior and exterior shine, your engine will sparkle too. Red Carpet is also getting some winter upgrades, including new equipment in the manual bay and new vacuums. Call Kyle today and let him get you scheduled for your red carpet treatment Tuesday through Saturday. 360-461-0826.
Hello, this is Amanda Huff with Swim Valley and Harper Ridgeview Funeral Chapels. I'd like to take a moment to tell you about a new, exciting, and environmentally friendly development in the funeral industry. It's called natural organic reduction, or simply terramation. Perhaps you've heard of it. Terramation is a process in which the body, after death, is returned to the earth in a carbon-neutral, eco-friendly manner. The process takes place in a controlled environment, and all that remains is a natural, odorless, compost-like material. If you'd like more information about terramation and advanced planning, call us today at Harper Ridgeview in Port Angeles or Swim Valley Chapel and Swim, and one of our knowledgeable and caring funeral professionals will assist you in answering your questions. Harper Ridgeview and Swim Valley Funeral Chapels, because your loved ones deserve the best.
For the Washington State News Network, I'm Rob Francis. If you're a Washington State Ferry rider, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer to make winter vehicle reservations. The agency delayed the opening of winter reservations yesterday due to some problems with the Department of Transportation website. They'll start accepting reservations next Tuesday morning for travel between New Year's Eve and March 23rd. And they'll continue to release reservations for 2 weeks ahead of travel and 2 days ahead of travel every day at 7 a.m. A ballot in Tacoma that would expand tenants' rights is trailing in early returns. Vote counts say that Initiative Measure 1 is behind with 49% support. It would require landlords to provide more advance notice before hiking rent and to limit evictions during the school year and during the winter. And the mayor of Kennewick, Bill McKay, stepping down from his post effective immediately. The announcement was made last night around the time election results were released. City spokesperson Evelyn Lusignan says a notice of the vacancy and the procedures for applying for the position will be forthcoming.
Very soon, because, to get candidates in place and announce that process, and then the council will interview all the applicants for the position and make a selection to fill that vacancy.
In a statement, McKay said he's looking forward to spending more time with family and seeing the world. He was elected to the council at large position 4 in 2018 and is mayor in 2022. For more on these stories and others, download the WSNN mobile app or visit our website, washingtonstatenews.net.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast. Slight chance for scattered showers this afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. Highs around 52. Northerly winds around 5 miles per hour. Slight chance for scattered rain showers again tonight. Lows dip down to about 40. Overcast. Scattered rain showers likely tomorrow. Highs level off around 50. Overcast skies. I'm weatherology meteorologist Paul Trombley. Currently, it's 52 degrees.
Welcome back to the program. We're right in the middle of Medicare open enrollment time. In fact, till December 7th. And there is help for you if you have questions about what this all means, where you might go. And there's actually a number of drop-in clinics that Sheba is offering as well. Sheba is a partnership through Olympic Area Agency on Aging and the Washington Office of the Insurance Commissioner. They offer free tips and advice for folks with Medicare. And on the line with me, Eva Bennett is the Sheba Program Coordinator in Clallam and Jefferson Counties with Olympic Area Agency on Aging. And Eva, thanks for joining us. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about what these, well, first, and then we'll give people an idea as where they can get to one of these walk-in clinics. But why should somebody, come to one of these?
Open enrollment is your chance to review, change, or drop your prescription drug plan or Medicare Advantage plan. It is very important that people come in and take a look at the drug plan or Medicare Advantage plan because everything changes every year. By everything, I mean which drugstore is the best deal for you, how your plan treats the drugs that you have, and what are the costs for the plan itself, what are the premiums. Every single year that changes.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of folks don't realize, and they get you can get stuck in a bad situation, right?
That's right. I had a client yesterday who, if they had stuck with their plan, would have paid about $1,000 more a year. And by coming in and changing their plan, they saved that money.
Yeah, and that's real dollars. You talk about, and especially with the way things are right now. And you're dealing with folks, quite a few, on fixed incomes, the retirees, maybe not a lot of wiggle room in their budgets to absorb something like that.
That's absolutely right. And we do have programs, Medicare has programs and the state has programs where people with low incomes can save money. So that's another reason to come into our clinics.
Exactly, because you could sit down and everybody's story is different. That's why you need to actually get in front of one of your volunteers and kind of talk about where people are at, financially and their living situation, even what medical conditions they might be facing. Even since last year, they may have some sort of a new diagnosis.
That's right, and that may affect the choices.
Exactly. Okay, so now you've got a number of these clinics coming up. I've got a whole list here. You're going to be in Port Townsend, you're going to be here in Port Angeles, you're going to be in Sequim as well. Let me get this right. I think you're going to be next up here on November 17th, is that right, at the PA Senior Center?
We're going to be at the PA Senior Center on November 17th and December 1st during open enrollment. And we're there from 10 o'clock in the morning until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a first-come, first-served walk-in clinic. So we take the first person who comes in and help them right away, and we go on from there. We're also going to be at the Shipley Center in Sequim on November 21st and December 5th. We're there from 9 until noon.
Okay, and we'll pass those along as well as we get a bit closer, too. Tell us about Sheba. How did this come to be? It's a program that's been around for a while, actually, but some folks may not even realize what it is.
Someone brilliant in the state of Washington decided that people needed help with Medicare because it's so complicated. And this was about 43 years ago, and they got themselves trained, and they volunteered for their friends and family to help them get through and navigate Medicare. That then grew into an organization where we have about 250 volunteers in the state of Washington, and we have employees who also work with Sheba. And we work with Medicare directly, we work with the Office of Insurance Commissioner, and as you said earlier, we work with the Olympic Area Agency on Aging. We are trained, and trained again, and again, we're volunteers.
Yeah, but you really have an interface, if you will, with a lot of places that people could get help. I would imagine sometimes you might work with a client. You just talked about how you saved one a lot of money just by, enrolling differently. But maybe they have some other issues going on that you say, you know what, we might be able to get you in touch with somebody over at Olympic Area Agency on Aging about some other things that could be helpful for you. Has that ever happened?
Yes, it does. There are various programs, particularly for seniors, that are available through the Olympic Area Agency on Aging.
How did you get involved in all of this, and how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for about 10 years. We have one person who's been doing it for 32 years. Yeah. And I got involved because I went to a clinic. I went to one of the walk-in clinics when I was going on Medicare, and the help was fabulous. And they asked me whether I wanted to volunteer. And I said, I don't know anything about Medicare. That's why I'm here. And then I found out about the training, and as they say, the rest was history. So we always want volunteers. So if you're interested in volunteering, please get in touch with me.
We'll give you some contact info before we let you go here, but tell us what should we bring if somebody's going to come to one of these walk-in clinics? What should they come with?
They need to have their Medicare card and their list of prescriptions. Those are the two most important things.
So not a whole lot, really. I mean, you don't need to bring your entire portfolio, if you will, into things. Just those. Yeah. Go ahead.
People do come with all the mailings they've been getting. As you know, Medicare people get tons of mailings, and we're happy to go through them and help sort them out. So if you bring those in, we'll help you with them. Okay.
Contact info. If somebody can't make it to one of these, can you get them some help outside of a walk-in clinic, or at least get them in the right direction?
Yes, they can call the Office of Insurance Commissioner hotline, which is 800-562. I just forgot the number. Okay, here we go. 800-562-6900. And what happens is those calls are funneled to me, and I distribute them to our volunteers. So you can get help by telephone, although we don't have a lot of volunteers working on the telephone. So we prefer that people come to our walk-in clinics.
Now, you mentioned you can always use volunteers, so should we call that same number, or is there another number? What should we do if somebody out there says, I'd like to help people with this?
If you'd like to help people with it, and we would welcome you with open arms, please call me at area code 360-809-4793.
Got it. And I've got all of that information here at the studio as well, so you can call us here at the station and we can get you in touch as well. All right, keynote is here in Port Angeles on November 17th and December 1st at the Port Angeles Senior Center from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and down in Sequim at the Shipley Center on November 21st and December 5th from 9 a.m. to noon. Those are the two locations coming up in our immediate area for these walk-in clinics. And as Eva told us, first come, first serve. So get there and get first in line so that you can make sure you can get all the help you need.
Thank you, Todd.
Absolutely. That's Eva Bennett. She's a SHIBA program coordinator here in Clallam and Jefferson counties, and it's a great way for you to get through all of this Medicare open enrollment stuff and find out maybe, if you're spending too much money on a prescription drug policy, you might be able to save some dollars as well. But open enrollment stops here relatively soon, so you want to make sure you get into one of these clinics. And again, you can also call the Office of the Insurance Commissioner at 800-562-6900 if you're interested as well. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on Newsradio KONP.
Red Carpet Car Wash in Carlsberg is always adding to the list of things they provide to keep your vehicle looking brand new. The full detail shop is just one more service to check off that list. Not only will your interior and exterior shine, your engine will sparkle too. Red Carpet is also getting some winter upgrades, including new equipment in the manual bay and new vacuums. Call Kyle today and let him get you scheduled for your red carpet treatment Tuesday through Saturday. 360-461-0826.
November means we're in the home stretch of another year. This is Dale from Wilder Auto, and November is a time of changing seasons, and if you're in the market for a 4x4 or all-wheel drive crossover, SUV, or pickup, we have the biggest selection of those vehicles on the Olympic Peninsula. Plus, every vehicle we sell includes the Wilder Advantage for peace of mind and lower cost of ownership. So as we head for home, stop by and check us out at 24/7 at wilderauto.com.
Medicare open enrollment is here October 15 through December 7th, and if you're like most people on Medicare, you have questions. The statewide health insurance benefits advisors, known as SHEBA, can help inform you of your Medicare rights and options and see if you qualify for help with cost. SHEBA is a free, unbiased service provided by the Washington State Office of Insurance Commissioner. Get help today. Call SHEBA 1-800-562-6900 or visit insurance.wa.gov.
Something astounding awaits you at McCrory Carpet One in Sequim, Port Angeles, and Port Hadlock. All McCrory Carpet One showrooms have been remodeled, revamped, reorganized, and are even better and more luxurious than before. Bigger displays, more options, updated styles, colors, and trends. McCrory Carpet One is the #1 place on the peninsula for any and all of your flooring needs. Check out their beautiful new showrooms in Sequim, Port Angeles, and Port Hadlock.
The 2024 KONP Home Show is back. We are now accepting vendor applications for the largest two-day marketing event on the peninsula. Put your business in the middle of thousands of potential clients. Booths start at just $450. The KONP Home Show will be Saturday and Sunday, March 9th and 10th, 2024. Sign up now for best locations and to lock in the lower rates. Call 360-457-1450 and get your space for the 39th annual KONP Home Show.
Did you know that hot water accounts for 15 to 20% of your electric energy use? Hi, this is Clallam PUD. Let's talk about heat pump water heaters, or hybrid water heaters. A heat pump water heater uses fans and an evaporator to efficiently extract warmth from the surrounding air, saving you up to 60% on your electric water heating costs. The PUD currently has an instant rebate of up to $900 when using a participating installer, or $600 if you're installing it on your own. Plus, the federal government is offering a $2,000 tax credit. Visit clallampud.net for more information.
Welcome back to the program. Well, just because most members of Congress weren't up for re-election yesterday, it didn't mean it wasn't a busy day in Washington, D.C. The Supreme Court heard one of its most anticipated cases of this term. ABC's Devin Dwyer examines the Supreme Court case on guns and domestic violence.
Now, just because most members of Congress weren't up for re-election yesterday doesn't mean it wasn't a busy day in Washington, D.C.
We refuse to let 9 unelected judges decide whether people trapped in abusive situations will live or die.
In fact, the Supreme Court heard one of its most anticipated cases of this term, a case about guns and domestic violence. ABC senior Washington reporter Devin Dwyer was there for arguments. And Devin, when we talk about guns, it's often, because of a mass shooting that just happened. So many more Americans die just through violence that no one else sees. And I think guns account for like half of intimate partner deaths in this country. Is the argument here basically whether domestic abusers should be able to buy guns?
That's what this case was about, Brad. I mean, one of the most popular and widely accepted gun regulations on the books for the past 30 years has been a federal ban on people under domestic violence restraining orders from being able to buy a gun. And the way that law works is that when a state or federal court issues a restraining order against someone, which would prohibit them from contacting someone that they had aggressed against, which would prohibit them from buying a gun, among other things, that those records are fed into the National Criminal Background Check System. And of course, when that person then would go to show up to attempt to purchase a gun, in theory, that record would be in the system and deny them that purchase. Thousands of restraining orders are issued by judges every year, and the FBI says that more than 77,000 attempted purchases have been denied to people under domestic violence restraining orders since 1998.
I'm here today just to honor so many lives that were taken. Every month 70 women are shot and killed by an intimate partner every month.
But I've talked to a number of victims of domestic violence that involve firearms, survivors of that violence, and they feel so passionately about this case, about this issue.
So he threatened you, he threatened to kill you?
Yeah, if I didn't do what he said, he said I couldn't be with anybody else but him.
Lachey Crachan, for example, of Louisiana, told me her harrowing story from nearly 30 years ago now, where she was shot 5 times at close range by her then ex-boyfriend.
And I walked away, and that's when he shot me behind my head and in each hip, and I just immediately fell on the floor, and I fell right next to my daughter. And my great aunt, she said, I don't know, she was just like, oh my God, he killed himself, and she was at the door.
Still has all 5 bullets inside of her, and has found the grace to forgive her ex, love her 2 children, but just so believes today, Brad, that had she, when she went to the police before the shooting happened, been able to get a restraining order against her boyfriend, block him from buying the gun that he used to shoot her, she would have been spared an awful lot of pain and trauma that still haunts her to this day.
I fight for my family today and for all those who deserve to live free from fear. Thank you for being part of this fight with me. Let's go.
So this law is seen as sort of a cornerstone of protecting those women. And yesterday at the Supreme Court, it faced an existential challenge. The case comes from Texas, where a drug dealer and person with a violent record, his name is Zaki Rahimi, is currently behind bars. He faces a whole host of challenges. The issue isn't really that he's at risk of getting out, but it's, can he be charged, can he be indicted for possessing a gun while under a domestic violence restraining order obtained by his girlfriend? And Rahimi came to the Supreme Court yesterday and, through his attorney, argued that he cannot face those charges because, in his view, the law violates the Second Amendment because it doesn't have any historical precedent.
It is like a historical precedent. It's like a 30-year-old law, right? How would that not be precedent enough?
Well, the arguments, Brad, are fascinating because the Supreme Court last year, in a landmark decision, set out a new test for how we decide when gun restrictions in this country pass muster under the Constitution. For years, this law was not challenged because the guiding test was basically a pros and cons test. Judges will look at a gun restriction and say, do the benefits outweigh the infringement of the right? But what the Supreme Court did last year in a decision these conservatives advanced to expand individual gun rights, they said, no, the test needs to be history and tradition. Is there a historical basis going all the way back to America's founding for this particular gun restriction?
This is just, can you be punished for keeping a firearm? And I think that the text of the Constitution says no. The early commentators would say no, at least as far as Congress doing it. And the historical tradition all say no.
In the courtroom yesterday, there was all this argument about the 17 and 1800s in the United States. And Rahimi's attorney said there simply was no such thing as a domestic violence restraining order in 1789. And of course, if there wasn't a restraining order, there certainly wasn't a ban on people under domestic violence restraining orders in 1789. The government, on the other hand, was arguing that at that time, this is absurd. I mean, women were not treated as equals in society. There were a lot of things that have changed since then.
And the fact that domestic violence was subject to a very different legal and societal regime at the time and was not viewed as the kind of system that warrants systematic governmental interference, I think can't be held against us now that we're looking at how Congress is reacting to the profound threats that armed domestic violence presents.
Biden administration Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar advanced a vigorous defense of this law, saying if the new test is history and tradition, Brad, there is ample history and tradition of disarming dangerous people.
For example, loyalists, rebels, minors, individuals with mental illness, felons, and drug addicts.
And so she was advocating sort of a broader look at what this test should be. But there was a pretty sharp debate on that point.
Did you get a sense of what the justices were thinking? Because, like, no Supreme Court case is theoretical, right? They're all important. They're all practical. But this has the potential for such dire, tangible outcomes, you'd think, if domestic abusers are allowed to get their hands on a firearm that they just keep around the house.
Yeah, I mean, when the Supreme Court took this case, it was hard to imagine them striking down this law and siding with domestic abusers. I mean, you can see the headlines now.
You don't have any doubt that your client's a dangerous person, do you?
There clearly seemed to be an agreement, at least among a majority of justices, that common sense requires a ban on guns for people who abuse their intimate partners.
Your Honor, I would want to know what dangerous person means.
Well, I mean, someone who's shooting, at people, that's a good start.
That's fair.
But there was some skepticism among a number of the conservatives, Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito in particular.
General, would you just briefly define what you mean by law-abiding and responsible?
Over the breadth of this law, the potential that requiring people under these orders to give up their guns could ensnare nonviolent people.
Situations in which the family court judge, who has to act quickly and may not have any investigative resources, faces a he said, she said situation, and the judge just says, well, I'm going to issue an order like this against both of the parties.
And thereby disarm someone who really doesn't, isn't that big of wouldn't be that big of a problem.
Like, when is a restraining order not a restraining order? When do they all, when are they different things? Yeah.
But the government fired back and even had Justices Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh apparently on their side, at least on the top line.
I mean, I think there would be little dispute that someone who was guilty, say, or even had a restraining order, that domestic violence is dangerous.
But we'll see how narrow or how broadly they issue this decision if, in fact, they uphold the law. And that could be where a lot of the significance of this case is.
Right, because I think you really touched on it well there, that even if they uphold this law, the 30-year-old law that says, yeah, if you got a restraining order, you can't buy a gun, the fact that there's now this new standard to meet about history and tradition means that they can almost signal in this forthcoming ruling, hey, here's what we don't think applies, right? Like, here's the lawyers that should bring their next case where we can expand gun rights.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on Newsradio KONP.
Hi, this is Kyle Lemaire with the Juan Nafuca Foundation for the Arts. Are you ready to experience the heart and soul of Americana music like never before? Enter the Black Feathers.
A miracle before. Been looking at the inside of this open door, but I've seen
The Black Feathers, a husband and wife team of passionate musicians dedicated to the roots of American music. With their soulful vocals, masterful instruments, and a blend of folk, blues, and country, the Black Feathers will transport you into the heart of authentic Americana. Join the Juan Nafuca Foundation for the Arts this Friday, November 10th at the Mood Room in downtown Port Angeles for an unforgettable performance. Get your tickets now at jffa.org. That's jffa.org. Be a part of the incredible musical journey that is the Black Feathers.
Your community-minded friends at First Fed bring you the Community Corner, highlighting good things happening right here in our area.
Get your tickets now for the Hurricane Ridge Winter Sports Foundation fundraiser, Winterfest. It's November 18th at Vern Burton Community Center. Your ticket to Winterfest includes Cocapelli Grill Dinner, appetizers by Country Air, an oyster bar, delicious desserts from cakes, pies, and more, and Fogtown Coffee and Tea, plus live music. Tickets to Winterfest available online at hurricaneridge.com. That's hurricaneridge.com. And donations for area food banks are happening now at First Security Bank locations during the annual holiday food drive. Bring non-perishable food or cash donations to First Security Bank in Sequim and Port Angeles. Your donation will make a difference and support our local food banks.
Community Corner on KONP, presented by First Fed.
It's time for Your Port of PA Today. A look inside the port and share what's in it for you.
This is Steve Burke, Commissioner with the Port of Port Angeles. I am very happy to share with you that there are big developments at the Port of PA. The port was awarded a grant in excess of $7 million for the development of the former Cape Lice site. With this grant, the port will invest over $11 million building an advanced marine trade center. What's a new marine trade center mean for our community? It will immediately attract new business to our area, help expand existing businesses, and generate high-quality jobs for our local community. This project will positively impact all countywide, elevating our area as a major player for economic development. If you want to know more about what the Port is doing in our community, reach out to us at hello@portofpa.com.
This has been your Port of PA Today. Explore portofpa.com.
Online at myclallamcounty.com. Newsradio KONP, Port Angeles Swim, a Radio Pacific
From
station.
ABC News, I'm Lindsay Davis, anchor of Prime, streaming weeknights on ABC News Live. Democrats are celebrating last night's big wins in several key states, including Ohio, where voters approved a measure protecting abortion rights in the state's constitution. Vice President Kamala Harris says it proves the American people are prepared to stand for freedom.
The voters said, look, the government should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
Tonight in Miami, 5 Republican presidential candidates will face off for the third time during the GOP debate. But frontrunner former President Trump will not be there. He'll instead hold a campaign rally. The House Oversight Committee is issuing subpoenas to several members of the president's family, including his son Hunter and brother James, as it continues its impeachment inquiry. ABC's Stephen Portnoy has details.
House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer says the panel will question these individuals about what he calls a record of evidence that shows how Joe Biden benefited from his family's business dealings. The White House says Republicans are, quote, trying to distract from their repeated failures to govern.
Former President Trump's daughter Ivanka in a New York City courtroom on the witness stand in her father's civil fraud case. The defense will begin presenting its case next week. The White House repeating it does not agree with Israel's prime minister's plan for Israel to oversee Gaza after it defeats Hamas. National Security Coordinator John Kirby.
It's certainly plausible that for at least some period of time, Israeli Defense Forces are still going to be in Gaza to manage the immediate aftermath and the security situation. But that nothing's changed about our view that shouldn't be the long-term solution.
There are growing calls for more pauses in fighting to allow for safe movement of Palestinian civilians and aid workers in Gaza. The 3 beloved giant pandas at the Smithsonian National Zoo in Washington, D.C. are heading back to China. They're making the trip on board a FedEx plane known as the Panda Express. Also on board, hundreds of pounds of bamboo for snacking. You're listening to ABC News.
It's that time of year. The kids are back in school, and it won't be long before they're bringing home more than just homework. Colds, flu, and viruses are making their rounds, along with miserable seasonal allergies. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the nose cleaner with powered suction. Navage pulls saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. Navage helps provide natural, immediate relief. Listen to the words of Michelle, a verified Navage user. I've had problems for as long as I can remember and finally found this wonderful product. What a difference it has made. I am so excited about this. I tell everyone, thank you, unquote. This cold and flu season, join nearly 4 million people and experience how Navage can help you breathe better, snore less, and feel healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and Navage.com. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
I'm Lindsay Davis. For the latest on today's headlines, be sure to watch Prime tonight, starting at 7 Eastern on ABC News Live. Now with more news, here's Michelle Franzen.
House lawmakers voted to censure one of their own in a rare resolution brought to the floor last night. ABC's Terry Moran has more.
Representative Rashida Tlaib, Democrat of Michigan, stood accused, in the words of the censure motion, of, quote, promoting false narratives about Hamas' attack on Israel on October 7th, and of, quote, calling for the destruction of the state of Israel. 22 Democrats voted for the censure motion. 4 Republicans voted against it.
Air travel has been a mixed bag for passengers this year. Complaints have soared compared to last year. The Transportation Department out with the figures.
The department received almost 25,000 complaints about airline service just in the first 3 months of the year, up 88%. The department says it is investigating several U.S. airlines for possibly offering flight schedules that they're unlikely to be able to perform. Southwest Airlines has publicly said it is being investigated after its total system meltdown last December. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Police in Colorado say they have arrested the couple who owns the Return to Nature funeral home in Penrose in connection with the 190 bodies found decaying and abandoned at the funeral home last month. Joe and Carrie Halford were facing several charges, including abuse of a corpse and money laundering. This is ABC News.
Here's a message just for the attorneys out there.
So you passed the bar, joined a firm, or even built your own. Now are you finding out that you're doing more administration than actual law practice? Lexicon can help. Lexicon is a legal technology provider with over a decade of experience streamlining administrative tasks like timekeeping, billing, and more, so you can focus on maximizing billable hours and increasing client satisfaction. Call 855-4LEXICON or visit lexiconservices.com/go to learn more.
Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
KONP News brought to you by McCrory Carpet One. Always priced right, always done right. McCrory Carpet One. Port Angelo School District poised to move closer to reconstruction of Stevens Middle School. Thursday, the school board expected to accept a value engineering study report presented by some consultants. It offers more than a half dozen recommendations for the Stevens campus, including not keeping any students there when reconstruction happens and even building a whole new structure on the north part of the Stevens property. The Stevens renovation, a key part of a $52.5 million capital facilities levy passed by voters back in 2020.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast. Slight chance for scattered showers this afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. Highs around 52, northerly winds around 5 miles per hour. Slight chance for scattered rain showers again tonight. Lows dip down to about 40 over